Welcome again to Reflections on the Community and Its Cultures. This time around, a look at a Hall of Fame and at a Hall of Science and Technology. Later on, ICC Athletic Director Tammie Geldenhuys will tell us about the school's Hall of Fame. First up, Amy Finney. I'm going to mess up everything, aren't I? Manager of the Independent Science and Technology Center will talk to us about some of the programs and exhibits that are going on there. All that's coming up on Reflections. Reflections continues now as we welcome to the program the athletic director at Independence Community College, who is Tammie Geldenhuys.
You did well.
And
not an easy name to say, is it?
Well, it's easy to say unless you're looking at it. And then, of course, it looks really, really weird. We don't want to get into what it looks like. It starts with a G for one thing. It's pronounced like an H for another. So anyway, you've been at ICC for how long now?
I'm going on my 5th year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I was going to say 2. But and you've worn a number of hats and gone without hats occasionally too.
I sure have. It's something you do when you work somewhere where there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm. You came in as strictly a coach, right?
I came in as a coach.
Okay.
I had coached there previously and came back and came in as a coach and then moved into an interim athletic role and then took over the athletic director's job. So.
And apparently doing okay at it because you're still at it. And
I hope so.
You've been on that in that position
Yes.
for what, a couple of years? 2, 3?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
full
good.
time. Mm-hmm.
Is it unusual to be a college athletic director as a woman?
There's not too many of them.
Yeah.
We just hired another one in the conference. There's 20 schools in the state of Kansas at the community college level, and there's 2 of us at this point in time as women. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, it's an unusual thing. I would assume, that's not what we're focusing on today, but I would assume from the get-go it was a little bit of a challenge.
Not really. I mean,
Really?
if you've been in the sports venue, you're used to probably being around predominantly, especially young, a lot of males. So you learn to work with a lot of different sports coaches, and so it was easy for me.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and again, I just assumed that it would be a barrier, but again, you're a coach.
That's right.
And that comes
right.
first,
That's
right. and then eventually, the AD, and that comes, well, okay, yeah, that's the AD, okay. Anyway, we're here to talk about something pretty doggone special at Independence Community College, and pretty recent, too.
Last year, we started a Hall of Fame. We had our first inaugural class last year, and now we're just getting ready to have our second group come in. We've selected 10 candidates the first year and 7 this year, and it represents not just past players in all sporting programs, but coaches as well as community people that contributed as boosters or in other ways.
How did it come about? Did you bring this to the table, because it happened during your tenure?
I'm sure I'm not the first one to have that idea. I felt that there was such a rich history in athletics at Independence Community College that we needed to recognize the people that made it, that accomplished so much. Because the beauty of doing this is we go back into the 30s, the 40s,
Wow.
the 50s, and we get to see a whole picture of how it came about. And as you know, things have changed quite a bit since 37, 38, and now in 2011,
I don't know what they were
12.
like in 37.
And so we have a committee of about 9 people that get involved in the selection process, and there's a lot of people doing some homework and research. So
I do have some memories from not quite 1937, but from growing up in this town and from being a student at ICC.
Sure.
I remember some really golden athletic days, and it is good to salute those people. And sometimes even the people who didn't manufacture gold were still extremely
And there are
important.
so many people that play a role in those moments, even those that we don't recognize. And what is so phenomenal is when they come back and we have a luncheon. We will honor them at a luncheon, and a lot of their families and friends come in from the community boosters. And then we have a tailgate before the game, and then at halftime of the football game on October 8th against Butler, we actually induct them at halftime. But the interesting part is they share so many wonderful stories about people that you didn't even know were a part of such a big role in their life, as well as the accomplishments at the college. So it's a very special piece.
I know you're going to tell us about the new inductees, and I didn't warn you about this, but can you tell us who some of the initial inductees were?
Oh my, I can.
Okay.
I sure can. I even brought a cheat sheet.
Aha, good deal.
It's tough because there's just so many good people, and we had so many nominations. To select 10 the first year was difficult in itself. Ira Stockerbrand is a coach. Who coached both football and basketball for many, many years at the high school, at the college. Bob Sneller, who won the first national championship in basketball, were the first two coaches that were inducted. Don Harris, who was a big advocate, community booster, just a supporter, was inducted in that one. Paul Torrance was also inducted on the community piece of it as far as a contribution, but also was a football player who played for Ira Stockerbrand, interestingly enough, and Dave Dennis as a golfer who also was there at the same time Ira was there and Paul was there. It was interesting. Like I said, you start bringing people in and you start connecting the dots. Margojata Raubo was a basketball player that actually I had recruited to Independence Community College, who came back, went on and played at Auburn and did well. From Poland.
From Poland, yeah, I do remember her, and I'm glad I don't have to say her name.
Lamar Garrett was a two-time indoor-outdoor national track champion in the first year. Wardell Wright, football player, All-American. I'm trying to remember. Rick Parks came back in men's basketball. I mean, there was just such a wealth of a group to sit down and hear about the past that it was just extraordinary. And I think the touching piece was every one of them made a comment, and that is it all began here. Many of them were Hall of Famers on at other levels, but it started here at Independence. We made it special.
Yeah, of course. And again, you know, I don't go back to 1937, but I do have a considerable investment in the college as a student and then later on as a teacher. And a couple of the names that, one of the names especially that you brought up, Bob Sneller, who was, of course, you know, just a great basketball coach, and also a heck of a good English teacher, heck of a good speech teacher. English, speech, and national level basketball. You know, we've had some remarkable people here. And of course, we've run out of them. We don't have any more for this year, right?
As far as the remarkable people, there's a ton of them. I just don't have enough time.
This is you're just sort of segueing in because you have a list actually nicely printed here. You don't even have to.
I'm gonna kind of cheat on the sheet mainly because I'm going by years, not to start out with the oldest first. But Dr. Faye Bradley was here in 57, 58 and won a 2 hurdling national champion in junior college. Bob Morgan was the first 2-time All-American, played in 1958, 59 in football. Wow. Went on to New Mexico State and on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Darryl Minifield played basketball here, and 69, 71.
Part of a really golden era.
Yeah, Rod Froby was the quarterback for the Wool Bowl team that did so well in 77, 78. Bob Cavisto is a name that many people remember, one of the winningest coaches ever at Independence Community College. And
that tacky tux that he wore.
Everybody remembers the
light blue
powder
tux.
Blue tux or the, but Bob did some wonderful things for many, many years and really developed the program. Ava Laskowska was a 2-time All-American here in women's basketball, went on and coached or played at K-State, my alma mater, had to bring that one up, but came back to ICC and coached, and now is at New Mexico State. And John Pittman represents our community's contributor, and John's family, and we're big in the Booster Club and just helping behind the scenes to help the athletic programs back. You know, I think John said 25 years of service, but I'm sure it was much, much, much more than that.
Yeah. And so these are the folks who will be inducted on the 8th of October, halftime of the football game?
That's right.
Okay, good stuff. And again, because again, I spent significant time in my life at ICC. Ava Laskowska, you mentioned, you know, I remember her as a teacher, you know, and so it's nice to be reminded of these folks, because sometimes we can forget what really fine folk have circulated through Independence Community College. What else is going on at Independence Community College these days? You got a new president. Have you fought with him yet?
We do. Of course not. Dr. Dan Barwick, new to us. He's been here. I wouldn't say he's new anymore. He's been here since August, so he's hit the ground running. And we have you know, a lot of students on campus. This happens to be our homecoming week. Homecoming's coming up this weekend, so there's been a ton of student activities, you know, all week long. But you know, right now, I think the college is at a great place in that we have some great enrollment. We have kids coming for the right reasons, and I think that makes it a great place to be when everybody's in the same vision.
Yeah, and again, it's I'm prejudiced because, as I say, I'm a double graduate, you know,
That's
as
right.
a student and as a former member of the faculty. And it's one of those things that it's possible to forget about every once in a while, and that is how much a part of this community, Independence Community College, is. And I'm sure from your point of view, how much more it should be known in the community.
Well, you know, and honestly, sometimes as an athletic director, it's easy to focus on just athletics, but this past weekend there was a wonderful ceremony in town for 9/11, and we had several of our athletes, programs, many of our teams that came out and helped set up flags, you know, along the highway, took them down, did things behind the scenes, were involved in, and those are pieces that I want our students to experience. And sometimes I think we do it very quietly, and they don't realize, you know, when the truck comes in and need to unload the potato truck for all the potatoes, or they need things done, rummage sales for the churches and groups, when they have, you know, they need some muscle, we don't mind helping out in that way, because I think it's a great sense for our students, even if they're not from here, to give back to the community in whatever way they can.
I'm old and my memory's not very good, but very recently I remember a bunch of the football players were involved in a community-type activity, and I can't remember exactly what it was.
There are so many.
But again,
of them.
it happens so frequently.
It does.
If somebody wants more information about that kind of thing, I would assume they could call that Geldenhuys woman, right?
I would love for them to call me. Email me.
What's your phone number?
The college number would be 332-5481.
Okay.
And that would get you to the athletic department, and Rita, my administrative assistant, will help you. But yeah, we are there and we are available. And we do bitty groups with kids. We've done a lot of stuff with different students, the younger groups. We
Yeah,
did
and
the
that
reading
again is
program
something I've
last
seen
year.
a lot. You know, kids, you know, doing volleyball, kids doing
There's
basketball,
just
kids
all
doing
kinds of
all
things.
kinds of stuff like that. And again, I know you're a very energetic and very want to be involved sort of person, so I don't feel like we're putting you on the spot here.
Well, actually, I somehow I think I'm getting the credit for a lot of work from a lot of coaches that go above and beyond in kids. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I actually go to work every day, and I love being around the people I'm around, because they all feel like they could do a little more, make it a better place, whether it's here or the community, and I think we're lucky that way.
Yeah, indeed. And again, like I say, I'm heavily prejudiced there, so I'll agree with everything you're saying. If you want some more information about athletic programs, about involvement in one way or the other, 332-5481 will put you into the athletic department. The induction into the second Hall of Fame class takes place October 8th, halftime of the football game. Tammie Geldenhuys is the athletic director and enthusiast, and we thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Reflections.